Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 260th of Kouryer podcast. Our today's guest is Miss Nevena Nikolcheva. She's a visual development and concept artist and illustrator based in London, United Kingdom. And as always, in the for contact section of the captions, you can find the ID to her Instagram account, the link to her Linktree as well, which in that you can find the other links to the Ko-fi link, personal webpage, art station, LinkedIn, Behance, all the good stuff. There's there. And yes, I'll add the separate link to the Ko-fi as well. So if you want to support our guest today, you can go ahead and do that. That'll be greatly appreciated. Coffee is something that most artists, caffeine withdrawal is something that most artists, suffer in 2024, and you should definitely support the cause. So if you do that, that'll be greatly appreciated. Thank you. And with that out of the way, before we started the podcast and recording, we had a little bit of kind of this weird, depressing conversation about the state of the industry, and we're gonna get to that in the middle of the the podcast as well after we went through the most default questions of the podcast. But stay tuned, for that as well. And with that out of the way, how are we doing today?
Oh, we're doing great. I mean, we just had a great pre-podcast conversation, so I'm kind of feeling super positive about it.
All right, awesome. I hope your internet connection does as well through the duration of the podcast, because that's one thing we've kind of been worried about. It's kind of weird. UK is supposed to be a first world country. Why does it have to have a Wi-Fi issue? That's weird, right?
Yeah, it's very weird. Yeah. And it's been a constant, it's a sort of a breaking the ice conversation anytime you meet a new artist that just moved from abroad to the UK. If you don't have anything to talk about, you could talk about the weather, but that's boring, of course. But you could always talk about oh, it's so horrible. The internet, it's so horrible, and they tell you how amazing it is in any other country. And it's yeah, and this is how you break the ice. You could always talk about this.
That's good to know. And all right, let's get into the first, the opening question of the podcast, which is, give us a little introduction on how we got into the world of visual arts and design. Basically tell us your backstory, if what led you to become an artist.
Well, it was sort of, I was very afraid to be one, even though I went to university for that. But I was actually doing motion design for architecture after high school. And then I was doing good. I was actually a freelancer because I was going to school, and then I didn't have time to have a full-time job. So I did that. And I thought that I was going to do that because I can't be an artist because this is too hard. But then 2009, 2010 happened. And, the property collapse and everything. So all my clients, not all my clients, but most of my clients sort of died because the property development stuff just died. So I was out of job, out of clients. I was oh my God, I can't go back to my dad's place or whatever. I have to do something. But I can't be an artist. I'm just super bad at it. But then I got an email from an artist I didn't know. And if I wanted to have a super basic job at a game studio. And back then, I'm so old, so that back then there were still texture artists that painted pictures by hand. So this is how I started doing stuff. And then they were oh, we need some basic models. Would you want to do that? And then I did that. And I did that for some years. And then I was why don't I take some online courses? This was, I was let's try it out. I have a bunch of money. Let's spend it on that. So I did that, and I felt kind of better about it. And then I started changing jobs and being a little bit of a better artist, little by little. And this is how I got into the gaming industry, like sort of by accident or by force, like just not having a job.
That's a really great motivator, actually, to be honest, if you think about it. So you
Yeah.
basically started with 3D texture, right?
Yeah, painted.
That's interesting.
So,
UVs,
yeah.
Photoshop.
Yeah. I was very bad about. I remember my teammates. Oh my God, these people. Like I used to hate them when I worked with them, but like now looking back, I realize how much patience they had with me because I didn't know anything. And they helped me a lot. And yeah, they were just frustrated that I don't know anything. So, but yeah, afterwards I got better. They write from time to time to be like, "Oh, you're doing okay," and I'm like, "Yeah, thanks." And I'm like, sort of thankful that they were sort of like helping me, like even now, because I realized that like not everybody gets a chance, like not everybody gets like just an email, like not even looking for a job because I didn't know how to even look for a job. I was so bad that I didn't even know how to look for a job. So I'm super thankful that I had this luck because it's basically luck. I know artists that were so much better than me not having a job, and I felt very guilty about it because I still do. Like anytime I feel like I see like a artist that is so much better than me, and I see that they are looking for work, and I'm like, oh my God, I should be thankful. And yeah.
All right. And so right now, if you look at your portfolio, it says for concept artist, and in the beginning I said, visual development and illustrator. So what
Yeah, I can
path?
explain.
Yeah, sure. My question is, what path led you from 3D to this branch of design and art, like, which is your main focus now? And tell us about your experience from the start of it. How has the process been learning it, adapting to a new, like, role? Like, just tell us everything.
But I wasn't really a 3D artist. I was like sort of making small props, just helping every now and then. I was like, my job title was texture artist, and I was really bad. Like I was really bad at my job, so they couldn't give me a title of like 3D artist. And also, I was kind of like, I just wanted to do more stuff at work. So this is why I did 3D. But it was a bit boring for me, actually. And I was like it's really hard to paint and draw, but maybe I should try it more. So I just like sort of tried to do it more. Yeah, and it's been really slow actually. I feel like a lot of other people progress way more. But like for that period of time. But I still use super basic 3D like many artists do. So this sort of helped me, like my sort of past experience sort of is still helping me, but 3D is still super boring for me. Like at the moment there's I feel like I'm actually I'm for sure I'm not as good as I should be with my 3D because like most of the industry so it's very practical, and it's being made to be easier and easier, so people use it more and more, and it's still a little bit boring for me, and I this is why I'm not as good as maybe I should be. And I try to sort of stay away from it, but I keep coming back to it. Sort of. And about you asked me about the visual development and the illustration, like why. Well, so stuff being boring for someone is like sign that you're ready to learn new stuff. I feel like anytime you're bored with something, that means that you should learn new stuff. And I keep jumping from animation projects to game development projects, and it keeps me learning new stuff anytime I change to a new project, and it keeps me out of boredom, which is good for work, I feel like. So yeah, I don't know, I think I trailed off of the question a little bit.
No. That's actually necessary details. And all right, the next question I'm actually really interested about is, how does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a new project? Like, what does the structure of your pipeline usually look like? And I'm asking this because like a lot of the ideas and posts on your art station are like, really like, out there in terms of like, design. What I mean by that, they're really unique designs. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, and personally, for like one of my favorite works of yours are the triangle island illustrations, like the stylization, the shapes, especially the shapes for me, the hills, they look really good in their own style, in their context. And I was wondering, like, how does your design process go? Like, what happens what tickles in your brain when you're, for example, designing things, and what clicks,
Okay, so it's different for work and for personal stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah, of course.
I guess, yeah, I
Tell
guess
us
it depends for.
in both cases.
Yeah, I'm not. It like for every artist is different, because I know artists where you can't tell the difference between their personal work and their actual work. But for me, it's very different. So for my personal work, which is this triangle island, I was thinking about stuff that I like, as you should when you're making personal art. And I was thinking about like Bulgaria and some the houses, the traditional houses I miss a lot. And also, I used to go to a mathematical high school where we did a lot of like math. So the triangle used to be my sort of favorite shape, which is maybe a weird thing to say, but so. And also, I was really enjoying playing with VR stuff. So I was wondering if I could sort of like do thumbnails in VR. And right about the same time as I was doing that, I was asked to do a demo. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna like test this new workflow that I've never done before and make thumbnails in VR, and try and make a outworldly scene where like Bulgaria is on an island, and yeah, this is how this happened. Sort of testing new workflows and new sort of toys, because VR, for me, there's a lot of professional artists that use it for their professional work, but for me back then it used to still be a toy, because I haven't included it in my professional work. And so, but yeah, usually when I try new stuff, I guess the most interesting things happen, because I sort of don't know what's going to happen, and I try to make the best of it. And it's sort of like being on a vacation where not sort of using a map, and you just roam around like a really nice city, like I don't know, Rome or Paris or something, and you just find stuff for yourself, and you don't rely on like a list of sites that everybody goes to. You just try to sort of make it your own experience. So this is my workflow for for personal stuff. And for work, I try to sort of use more generic workflows just because they're more predictable and the client could have like better results and they know what to expect. And also you have to keep within deadlines and schedules and everything. So I could be more precise on what I can promise with like outcomes and like this sort of thing. And there's less like wandering around and like vacation time and stuff like that. So for work, I usually do either line sketches or 3D thumbnails, but I usually start with line sketches. And then if it's a bigger space that I have to design, after a bunch of series of line sketches, I do a rough block out and then draw over that block out again with line sketches. And then I proceed. It really depends on like what the goal is. But yeah, that's usually how we start out. No matter if it's animation or game development, like the sort of the workflows I use are sort of similar. Yeah.
All right. And have you ever used any parts of your dreams as inspirations for your personal works? Like maybe you saw something in your dream, like for example, the Triangle Island. Like it looks very abstract, like having giant megalithic, concrete structures, like coming out of the sea. Like that's kind of freaky stuff you usually see in your dreams. Have you gotten inspirations from your dreams, and also what is the inspirations from that in a specific Triangle Island?
Well, so I guess, have you been to Greece?
Nope.
Well, so there, Greece is covered, like there's a lot of these marble, what do you call that? Where they used to, where they get marble for buildings.
Oh, quarries. Stone quarries.
Is it
marble quarries? Yeah.
Maybe this is how they. Yeah, I just forgot the word. So some of them are like 1,000 years old. They're super old. I don't know, like the Greeks, like back in the day, used to use them, and they're by the sea. Some of them, and some of them form these big beaches, like with big marble slabs. And when you look from above down to a beach like that, you can see like it's super surreal, like these giant slabs of like white marble, and you can see how 2,000 years ago or something they like cut these giant blocks, but the water sort of made them softer, like, and you can see the change of like depending on how soft the marble is, how long ago it was cut. So this is sort of part of the inspiration for the triangle. Like, what if you can't really tell that the triangle is marble, but it could be. And they are super giant. So this was part of the inspiration, like these giant slabs coming out of the ground, because this is how they look in Greece, and they look super cool actually. And before I chose the triangle, I had a bunch of other experiments with round shapes, and like just giant round slabs, but they looked kind of weird. And also there was this other sort of inspiration that I have. It's after high school, I got to go for a little bit for some in-person art classes where we did these exercises with color a lot. So you get like a square or a rectangle sort of outline, and you fill it with different lines, like circle lines or like straight lines, doesn't matter. But then you have to, I don't know how to explain it. It looks super surreal. It looks like broken glass at the end. You pick like a focal point, and you have to make like sort of you pick like a color palette you have to pick a color palette, and within this color palette, make a focal point and make sort of the color move. And you do it with gouache, and at the end it looks like sort of like a colored broken glass. So I really like the look. Never use it again, but I really love doing it, and I sort of love the brokenness. So I wanted to keep that in the rocks. If that makes sense. Yeah.
And
sorry,
that makes
my sound confusing.
No. That totally made sense. And so here's something for anyone who's listening. The discussion I mentioned earlier that I said we were talking about the pre-podcast, we're going to continue to now. But, to recap what we talked about right now, you don't have to live under the rock to necessarily not be aware of the situation, but the situation in the entertainment and art industry seems like it's looking a little bit dystopian, to say the least, with the rise of this very annoying topic that keeps popping out every day with new things of AI, and there's the massive layoffs everywhere. And I think, we all know you don't have to be like a genius to really get to it. I mean, the layoffs have a lot of reasons. In 2020, I saw someone mention, which was actually kind of like an interesting point, that in 2020 a lot of companies hired a lot of like juniors, I guess, and because of that, now in a couple of years after that, a lot of their projects and deadlines haven't been met, a lot of things haven't been going well, so they realize, oh, they should have actually hired well-paying seniors, because they hired juniors to pay less money in total. So now that their projects and deadlines are kind of messed up, they're like, all right, we have to lay off a lot of people just to get some seniors back. But at the same time, it has a huge contradiction to the point I'm mentioning, because a lot of seniors also got fired. So this is getting really weird as well. And not just that, I think the biggest problem with this, that is sucking this industry dry, is the opinions of shareholders, which it would be stupid to say it doesn't matter, because in the end they're the ones who are sponsoring the projects, unfortunately. And every project is not every project, most projects are turning into just a money grab or just a quick rehash of a previous game. Look at all the series right now, the innovation is getting less and less. They're just milking the fans dry, with the fan base they had originally from 10 years ago, or previous years. And that's how they can make money off sequels, a lot of games Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, stuff like that. But I don't want to get into too many examples like that, because I could go on and on forever. I'm sorry, you want to add something?
Yeah, I get you had 5 sort of questions in one sentence or something. So I'm gonna try and remember each one. So you started with the. I'm not.
No, that's just explaining.
I'm not an authority on. Yeah. So I don't want to I'm not an authority on anything. It's just that you asked me what is something that I care about, and this is just something that I've been talking about with a lot of my peers on the internet, in my free time. So I guess this is just a common topic. It's not that I am an expert or whatever. So you mentioned junior artists and junior people being hired, and maybe some people mentioning that this is why projects are failing. But then we have examples like Blizzard, where they mostly hire only senior people, or even if they're not senior, they're young people that are superstars, super good artists and super good coders and everything. And they still had to cancel a project that's been developed for a long time and do layoffs. And it's not just them, but it's other people as well. So, and also actually before that, before we had the layoffs, we had a bunch of people from Blizzard leave, super senior people. They've been there for 10 years or something. leave and make their own studios. I don't know if you remember. I don't remember names, but I'm sure people know about this.
Wildlight Studios is a good example. I recently heard Wildlight Studio. Do you know that? I think they're based in Seattle. Their eggs respawn, employees on a bunch of other studios. They made their own studio, and they're
and they're making their own version of what they want to see out in the world. And I don't think I've heard them do layoffs. I only see like big studios and studios that are part of like a big franchise like Sony. Like 2 days ago, Sony said that they're going to fire 20% of their workforce. They closed the studio here in London, and they're doing a bunch of layoffs in studios where they have profitable projects that do a lot of profit. And so there's no logic, there's no logic behind this that's very easy to understand, they're making bad projects, or people are junior or something like that. It's not exactly super straightforward. And I remember we were talking about how I'm kind of afraid that some people are gonna be very quick to rile against, to sort of make conclusions this artist or this programmer should be like a bad professional if they're losing their job now, or if they can't get a job for like 3 months or something like that, which is not true. There's a lot of amazing artists that are losing their jobs now, and they probably will not get a job super soon, because to get a job, you often have to move cities or countries, or you have to make some kind of a life-changing thing a lot of times, unless you're a freelancer. But if you're a freelancer and you work from home, projects are being shut down. There's just, you're not being fired, but it's just Apple or Meta or Blizzard or Disney are canceling a project that nobody knows about. And you can't tell anyone that you worked on this. And this is your third project in a row for the past year and a half that's been canceled. And you can't even talk about it. And you're a really good freelancer. And that's not something that's uncommon. That's a normal thing. And this is a problem not only for freelancers, but also there are studios that do that, that they work on projects that are fringe, they're not I know I've worked with the studio Factory 42 here in London, and they do really interesting but small projects for different, it's not just Apple or Meta, maybe for the government, maybe for automotive, like a company that makes cars or something. They do different interesting stuff, and it's cool to have in the world such studios, because it's imagine if you're working at a studio like that, you have all kinds of projects to work on, which is very interesting. It's very cool. And somebody has to do that, right? A really cool ad for a car, or a mini game for a school. This is really, really cool. And studios like that are losing their projects as well. And this is how freelancers lose their projects. And it's not very straightforward. Also, recently, 4 of the biggest economies in the world went into recession, which is Japan, the UK, Germany, and China will not admit that they're in recession ever, but they are. And sometimes artists think that they're special, maybe, and like hard times hit them the most, but that's not true. Like, a recession means that everybody's having a hard time. And if you have to choose between getting a new game for yourself or for your kid or something, between this and your rent or something else like that, you're not gonna, like, the choice is very easy. You're not gonna get the game. You're not gonna have, also, you're not gonna get the game that is more expensive, or you're not gonna get the VR set, or maybe you have the VR set, but you're not gonna buy the game for the VR set. You're just gonna, So it's not. I mean, a lot of people are saying that AI is just replacing jobs, and maybe that's true. I think that this will be a problem like in 2 years, but right now everybody's having a hard time. And yeah, I think that maybe just we have to be humble and just, I don't know, not blame and point fingers. And like you said, you mentioned shareholders wanting the biggest profit very quickly, right? And I think that it's not just the game industry suffering from this thing. Like, there's a lot of industries that are sort of complaining about this. And I'm not financially aware person, like, but kind of the gaming industry at the moment feels like the food industry, sort of. Like, imagine if you're having a restaurant and the food is made by your mom and dad, and the kids help, and maybe they have like 5 people, employers, to help out, and the food is great. And then they grow older, and a businessman comes and says, I'm going to buy your restaurant, and I'm going to give you a lot of money, and all of your kids are going to have money for the rest of their lives. And they say, okay. And then these people with the money get the name, and they make it big, and they make the food faster and shittier and cheaper, and make the business bigger. And this is what happens to video games. It's just, we're not special. It's just another business. I mean, it's just the choices that it used to be a young industry, and it's still a young industry. And it's just when it goes older, it suffers from the same kind of illnesses that other industries have, right? And we're just not used to that. Yeah, I think that's sort of how I feel about this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I was just wondering, do you want to, because like, do you want to sort of prove me wrong? Like, maybe play devil's advocate with me for a little bit.
Well, actually, I don't disagree with anything in particular that you said, but I think it's not all like, darkness, as we just talked about in dystopia, as we mentioned. Like, there are like big studios, like, Larian, huge example, CD Projekt Red. They give us a lot of hope. Like, the funniest thing for me was that when Baldur's Gate 3 dropped, a lot of game developers and the studios were mad at how perfect this game is, because they were mad that they have to hold on to the same standard as them.
Yeah.
I love that. And the thing is, like, have you played Baldur's Gate 3?
No, but I remember Ghost of Tsushima. Do you remember when Ghost of Tsushima came out?
Yeah.
It was like out. It was, at least for me, it was sort of like out of nowhere, and people were like, "How did this happen?" and I was like, "Well, but of course it's gonna happen. I mean, yeah, there's gonna be like a, I don't know. But yeah, sorry, go on. You wanted to mention a bunch of other stuff, maybe?
And yeah, what was I gonna say? I forgot. I actually forgot. Yeah,
Baldur's Gate?
yeah, Baldur's Gate. But after I wouldn't say something else. But basically, all right, let me wrap this up. Like Baldur's Gate 3, like from Larian, and how Cyberpunk got resurrected, from the dead by CD Projekt Red. It's now an amazing game. Both games are absolutely terrific. You should definitely go try them. But for example, then there's Skull and Bones, quadruple A game, the first quadruple A game, and I think it's just go watch the gameplay footage on YouTube and you'll see why we're kind of I don't even have the words to describe what to say. Not just Skull and Bones, Starfield as well. I actually was really excited for Starfield. I pre-ordered it. I thought, all right, a Bethesda game after many years, a new IP. It's not the Elder Scrolls or Fallout. I'm really excited. Maybe they're actually gonna do something really cool, right? And bear in mind, I haven't played any AAA games, up to the point that the Starfield released in years. So I only played indie games with my friends and buddies. So I was really out of the loop of the standard the game industry is, to be honest. At first, I was, it's a medium fun time, wasting game, or something like that for once. But I only played through it once, and that's it. And oh my god, it was the most cliche, stereotypical thing ever that you get out of a sci-fi. I don't want to get too much into it to give you spoilers, but it was just listen, the concepts were amazing. The idea, vision they had were amazing. Not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be an amazing game.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing for me that pisses me off, it had $400 million budget. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And it had an 8-year, I think, development cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And they delayed the development of the highly anticipated Elder Scrolls 6 for this. And now everyone is worried about the next Elder Scrolls because they're like, oh, if this is the standard Bethesda is at right now, what's going to happen to Elder Scrolls 6? And the only thing they can, you know what? I'm just gonna say it right now. Bethesda's only chance of making revenue is just to re-release a Skyrim on any different platform that comes up in the future. Like that's it. They're gonna release a Skyrim on everything. Not mad about it, but kind of embarrassing.
So what you just told me is sort of like I used to have dinner with my friends at these cool local restaurants that I know. But then we decided to go to this hyped up, really famous restaurant. Yeah, super cool. And maybe for a birthday or something, which is the cool game, the AAA game. But we had a really bad, the food was horrible. And the people were nice, but it was cold and it was dirty. And I am not going back there again, right? This is what you're saying. It's like the food industry is the same. There's these, you go to a cafe where the grandma is making the pancakes or whatever, and it's really right but then you buy it from the store. And it's bad. It's horrible. But yeah, so the other thing is you wanted to play the game because of the good work that the artist did. And then you got disappointed because of the way that the management finished the rest of the work, sort of. So I don't think that junior artists or junior coders are to blame for anything. It's actually management with these kinds of things is a good management is hard to find because the industry grew very fast. It became very big very fast. And how are you gonna find good management for an industry that grows so fast? You get like people from other industries. So you get a person that used to work in a bank, or you get a person that used to work for I don't know, an advertisement sort of something. And this is why you get these weird, like, why is this advertised so well, but then it's a shitty project? Like, it's a shitty game. Like, why is this maximized for profit, but then like there's something else? So this is where you see like, oh, well, it's because the management, it's not a game development management. It's like these people for half of their life, like for the first half of their life, they used to work for a bank or for something else. And this is where they got their main experience from. And then they went to do game development management job because it pays really well, because the industry grew very fast. And I mean, it's just that if you look at the LinkedIn profiles of the high management, this is what you see, like a law firm or like a bank something, and then it's like game development. Like, and you can see it even CEOs, like, and also there's no failure. Like I'm sure that everybody's seen in the news failed CEOs that sort of fail upwards. And anytime like there's a big failure, like Unity, do you remember the Unity
Yeah, the old
saga?
fiasco. Yeah, of course I remember.
Yeah, this is insane. And like when you look at these people's sort of history, and then you're like, how come anybody's letting this person make decisions for this? And this, I don't know. Like, I mean,
You
I don't
know,
know how we.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry. Go on.
No, sorry. I interrupted you. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I don't know how this is gonna be fixed, but I guess a lot of old timers, like the ones that ran away from Blizzard and made their own studios, we need a lot more of those. I feel like we need like 10 times more. And it will get good again. I feel like.
Yeah, and even we were talking about like the project cancellations. You also posted in your 2023 Art versus Artist. It's just your profile picture and just 9 canceled thumbnails, which actually reminded me of the recent like 6-year development survival project by Blizzard that got canceled. And I had a guest actually on the podcast, Marby Kwong, like a couple of months ago, or I think a year ago. She was working on it as well. And she also posted that, she's laid off and, everything like that. And she's a senior artist, by the way. And it's just really weird seeing all of this. But I think more than anything else, we need to unionize as much as possible. Every role, like animation has a union. Writers are, I think they went on a strike. I'm not on the loop on that story, by the way. I hope they unionize finally, or they had. I'm sorry if I'm sounding ignorant, because I only know these things by the titles of articles I see online, And yeah, we definitely need to unionize, as artists and people who are working in the game industry. And yeah, because like it's so weird. We thought AI would help us facilitate the whole art process, but it's taking the most fun part of the whole process from us, the creativity part. Which, don't get me wrong, AI as a tool is amazing. Like if you can feed your own work to AI and it generates ideas that you can build on top of that, that's great. That's a tool. But the database, you give it yourself. But the AIs that companies like to use is just AIs that are maliciously use people's artworks to train them without any consent. But there are tools right now that have been developed. I think there was Nightshade. I think there was some other name that's a glaze. I think like there's these things that you should use them on your artwork so it doesn't get used by that. It can't be used by any databases for AI. But aside from that it baffles me that there are actually a lot of people who think artists are gatekeeping art by saying AI art is bad. And like, for example,
Yeah,
there's another
just don't steal my stuff. Just don't
not
steal
just
my
that.
stuff.
But listen, it's not just that. It's like there was a really good comment I saw the other day. It was amazing. It was a writer. Like it says, it's helping writers who don't know how to illustrate, illustrate their works very easily. There's good arguments. But then someone wrote, "All right, if you're okay with using AI to make illustrations for your art or for your book, then you shouldn't be worried that I pirate your book 2 days later." Right?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's all of this will be solved if the big companies step on the gas pedal for like making regulations around this, because I don't feel like the normal person unfortunately has the power to change this. And actually, like, I know that this is a big problem with art, where these companies steal your work and everything, but I actually feel worse for kids, and for kids that imagine, because we're not the biggest sort of losers in this. Kids that are bullied at school because someone made porn, like AI porn, with their
Oh yes,
images.
actually,
Like,
someone said to quickly fix this issue. A lot of people, I really like that idea, but I hope Spotify doesn't like ban my podcast for saying this. But they said we should make malicious, like porn of politicians and regulators, so they can quickly see how devastating AI can be, so they could regulate it. So if they see their own lives are being endangered, by this technology, then they're gonna fix it. But if it's just taking jobs from a bunch of, artists, they don't give a rat's ass. But if it's their own lives, we need
it's
to
gonna be it's gonna be very hard. Who wants to see
very
porn
chaotic.
with like these old politicians? Nobody wants to see porn with old politicians. Yeah, it's a good.
You get the point.
Yeah, I get the point. Yeah, so Nightshade and all of these, they're great, and they're gonna be working when it's like it should be a filter on Photoshop. You see what I mean? Like, it should be like not even a plugin. It should be like you right click and you glaze your image or whatever, and it's done. You see what I mean? And I'm sure it could be. It's just that, I don't know, Adobe is playing dumb, and they were trying for a year and a half to buy some company that makes like collages or whatever, but they're not trying to buy Nightshade or one of these other. This is stupid. They're just playing dumb. Like, they could do it. They could easily do it. I forgot what. Oh, unions. Yeah, you mentioned unions. So I'm not super familiar with unions as well, but I've been talking about this with other people. And how is this going to happen? Because I don't know a single project now that's been worked by only in-house people. Even it's usually people from all over the world. It's getting more and more sort of international. And for the past 2 years, I've been only working, like, when I open the Zoom call, everybody has like a different lighting. Like, someone woke up 5 o'clock in the morning, or someone is like having dinner with their kid. You see what I mean? Like, they're all over the world, because people from all over the world work on projects now. It's not like it's getting harder to unionize, because for you to have a union, you have to be in the same country with the other people that you're working with. And this works with, it used to work for animation in the States, but actually they're outsourcing more and more, because some people say, well, it's cheaper, which probably it is cheaper. Probably it's cheaper, but also imagine if you're the art director of a project, and there's a really cool artist that you know, and he's available for work, and you have the budget to hire him. Would you hire him? He lives like on the other side of the world. You would want to hire him, right? You want to work with this person. So, but he's not in the union. So is the union gonna forbid you from hiring this artist because he's out of the union? So you're gonna be constrained with talent, or like, you see what I mean? It's like a big mess of global workforce and local laws, and actually it's the same with AI, because what are you gonna every country has a different law, and it's, what are you gonna do? It has to be a choice of like, Adobe has to step up, and like Disney has to step up and like bring out the good lawyers and say, oh well, you're just making money out of like Mickey Mouse or whatever, and we can't have that, so enough of that. And then Epic has to do that, and everybody. Like, do you remember the lawsuit Epic made against Apple? Against Apple. They wanted.
They won, right?
Yeah, they won. Yeah.
800
They won.
million or 400? What is it?
Well,
What is it?
they wanted their marketplace to be independent of the App Store, right? So I think they won. They had some kind of victory, but do you remember how much of a big deal that used to be? It used to be like King Kong versus Godzilla or something, like a big, like everybody used to be like, whoa, what is happening? Oh my God, what? So it should be something like that. It should be like Disney and Epic and like all these big shots have to be like OpenAI and your 16 billion acquisition or whatever. I don't know how much money they have now. We are going to sue you till you die unless you get rid of this data scraping everywhere, and like, you have to show us where you get your data. This can't be just fucking robbing everybody everywhere. This has happened. I mean, it's not that I'm not saying like there's a bunch of really cool artists that are making efforts to stop this. I'm rooting for them, but they have to talk to the big studios because they need help. They need help more than just lawyers. They need help from, you see what I mean? Yeah.
It's a messed up world, I tell you. And like, let's just move on from this.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And by the way, do you have anything else that you want to add to that topic as well before we move on?
Oh, no.
Right. So let's actually go back to some, just normal questions, art questions. Who are some of your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
That's a very complicated question. I don't think I can answer like straightforward. And it really depends on, like, if it's right now, I don't think there's like a specific artists because when I like an artist's work, I like it for a very specific thing. Like, one artist might be, I like the subject matter, but I don't like the execution. Like, I like the idea, but I don't like the execution. And some other artists, I don't like the idea, but I like how they execute. Like, I like their lighting or how they treat materials or stylization, or I might like their characters, but I don't like anything else. So it's very hard for me to point to one or two artists. And I didn't used to be like that. I used to be more rose glasses typer, like, oh, this is the best artist and he's the best. Yeah. And then I think I met my heroes. And I grew up a little bit, and I think it's a cliche, but I really do like all kinds of different things for different reasons, and it's hard for me to sort of say, wow, this is one of my favorite artists. It's really hard for me to do that. I don't know. And it's not only because I don't remember names, even though I don't. But it's mostly because I just like a specific person's artwork only for a very specific reason and not for everything they do. And also the best artists out there, they change a lot. They change what they do because they learn a lot and they get bored a lot. So they want to try new stuff, and their art changes a lot and it gets better, but it gets different as well. So if you mention a name, then you have to be, well, I like this artist, but only his work from 2017 or something, because 3 years later, it's like very different. Well, at least this is what I see. I don't know.
Yeah. And aside from all the art things we talked about, what area beside the area you're working on right now, which is of course arts related, would you be interested to explore and learn in the future? Or what other things or aspirations you have in life that you want to pursue later on, or maybe even right now, that are completely non-art related? Is there anything in mind?
Well, I don't think that there's like specific like gardening or fixing my car or something like that. I think that I would try to work out more, and just, it really sounds cliche, but just working out and just being healthy, because I'm gonna be able to enjoy being alive more. And working out takes time and it takes effort, and I'm not doing it enough. And also just doing the art stuff, it's turning me into a snail or a chair, or just, I don't know, something that's not human and can barely move. So I think that as soon as I have, I don't know, a bit more time, I'm just going to try and work out more and work on my laziness towards working out. And I'm one of those cliche girls that does yoga, but I hate the spiritual stuff around. I just hate it. The spiritual, like, oh, blah, blah. I just like that it fixes my back. This is what I like. And I also like running a lot. So I haven't thought about like opening a bakery or something. I think that just working on my health and trying to be more with relatives, which is maybe like a very old kind of person answer, but this is what I have.
Yeah, like the hardest thing for me with the working out part is the food. Like the working out part is actually the easiest part. You just go do it and have fun. But the later on that you have to, all right, they take the shower, wash your clothes, prepare the food. And not just prepare the food because you burnt a lot of calories. Then like, for example, if I work out at 5 p.m., then I eat, let's say at 7, I'm going to get really hungry at 12 because I worked out that day and it's going to bother me and I can't sleep. And like the food part is specifically like the most challenging part for me. The working out is, most people think it takes discipline. Sure, for a start, if your body is not ready for it, you need discipline so your body get used to it. But that's not the hardest part. That's the fun part, actually. The hard part is food.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, like if you're running, you can go to a place literally like if you like running, you could go to a nice place that you like and then come back. And you also, after that, you feel good, which is great. But yeah, the food, like, you're going to be hungry at 12, and the thing that you're going to eat has to be not cookies, which is very hard to do, not cookies. And also not just preparing the food, but also you have to get to the store, and not just the store, you have to go to the farmer's market, because the store gets you like green tomatoes that are picked green but should be red, and it's weird. And yeah, you live in Turkey, there's great food over there. But I live in,
and produce is not bad. Yeah.
yeah, it's great, it's really good, but British food is notoriously horrible. So I don't think you understand.
There's a joke that British food is one of the main reasons why British people became some of the best sailors in history.
Oh my God. I absolutely believe this is...
They wanted to get out of there and experience other foods.
Yes, it's horrible. Most of the food is imported here. And actually, like, I haven't experienced it, but on the news they say it's a big problem now with Brexit and everything, because there has to be like new deals about everything. So, and most of the food is imported. And but yeah, I mean, it's really, really horrible. Anytime I just get out of the country, any country I visit, it really doesn't matter which one, just any country, the food is like, oh my God, it's amazing. Like, it doesn't even matter. Even like just French fries. If you go to Belgium, and it's like, even the French fries, how do you not be good at French fries? How is this possible? But yeah, it's possible. And yeah,
people like to make memes and jokes about British food a lot. Like I don't want to like every culture and country has their own weird things. But for example, one thing I don't understand: beans on toast. Why? Like, listen, if you're gonna make a bean soup and add clumps of bread in it and mix it, I get that. We have it here. We call it tilit. It's a like a Persian like thing we do when we break apart bread and mix it with our soup or stew. We call it tilit, that thing.
Yeah.
Right? But you take a slice of white toast bread, and you just pour beans on. Why?
But it's not just that. You eat this for breakfast with sausage and mushroom. Yeah.
That should sounds good, but not for every day. Like, I mean, that doesn't sound very healthy, does it?
Well, I don't know. And also, you drink tea with this. It's very weird. I don't know.
Yeah, damn it. But I heard, like, there are some good foods there, like fish and chips, like mash and pie, stuff like that. They're not good for you. The way you looked at me and smiled, I don't think you have good experience.
Well, so because I live in London, right? And everything is like, you have to feed millions and millions of people, like a lot of people. And you can't really get super fresh fish. You get it, but you have to go to a special market. You can't just go to like a chain. So this is extra effort again. And you can, but this is not everything. I don't know. Fruit is horrible.
Oh God. Yeah. But I think, I have a theory that usually if you want to, like, if you're in a really high density touristic city, you should go in the outskirts of a city to get the actual good stuff where there's not much tourists. Because if there's a restaurant that it's always packed with tourists, the quality is usually a lot worse and the price is usually 10 times more. It's the same in Istanbul, by the way. Like, if anyone's listening or you're going to come to Istanbul anytime, don't eat at super touristic places or near famous places. I'll give recommendations if you want it, but don't go to those places. They're scammers. The food is medium at best.
Yeah.
And if the food is good, the price is going to be 20 times more than it should be.
Yeah, but like you said, this is the same with every tourist places. Like in any city, it's sort of like the same. Even like in Rome, if you go to a tourist place, the gelato is gonna be shit, and the coffee is gonna be shit, and the pizza is gonna be shit. But this is why I mentioned like personal projects should be like a personal vacation. You should take the small streets and explore for yourself, and you shouldn't have like a tour guide or something. You should do it yourself. You should like wander around a bit, maybe get lost. maybe I don't know, find something that nobody else did. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of like that. And interesting. Well, we've reached the final question and section of the podcast, which is called Time Capsule. And I think the name is kind of self-explanatory, but just to give a quick explanation, let's say, imagine you had like 3 to 2 minutes of time, right? And which is right now. I mean, it could be more than 3 minutes if you wanted. Like, I'm just saying that's, just like as example. If you could say anything, but basically what I'm going to ask you to say is, what are some of the biggest lessons, tips and advices and things that you've learned in your whole life till now, till this point, that you could tell to anyone who's listening right now? Imagine it's going to be in a time capsule. It's going to be like, let's say last recorded hearing. I know that sounds a bit dark, but kind of like that. But to anyone, and this is something that comes from a human to another human being. And that another human being is anyone who's listening to this episode at any point of time in the future. So, for example, your kids, grandkids are listening to this right now, and they're listening. So, what life lessons do you have to tell them? That's a good way to say that, actually. All right, go ahead.
I'm gonna sound too cheesy. This is gonna sound super cheesy. Sometimes progress is one foot in front of the other, but don't stop doing it. And don't get discouraged. Try to do what you like and not care, but also care a lot, which is contradictory and it's very hard to figure out. But you should try to figure out how to not care and care a lot all the time. And I feel like this is how you should do art. And I feel like anybody that's done it knows exactly what I mean. And also, if you don't try to think that one thing is art and another thing is not, because you could put your own labels on what is art. You don't need to listen to other people tell you what it is. Yeah, I think that's it.
Solid advice, honestly. And I guess that's a wrap. Thank you so much for coming by for this episode. Where can people contact you if they had any questions? Is there an Instagram account okay for that?
Yeah, do it there.
All right, you heard it. The Instagram is linked down in the captions. You can find it there. The ID to our Instagram account. And of course, there's a Linktree there. And also, most importantly, there's a Ko-fi page there. No, it's actually not coffee. It's Buy Me Coffee. It's something different, right?
Yeah, it's Buy Me Coffee. I've seen some people use it.
And because there's another thing was called Ko-fi. I don't know if you heard about it. It's like a similar thing with a similar concept. Like it's literally that, like Ko-fi, KO/FI.
Oh no, I just seen some people use this Buy Me a Coffee, and I kind of, it feels great because it's like just spare change basically.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, to anyone who's listening, I hope this episode at least gets you a couple of coffees from the viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll try to put it on my stories as well when I publish the story as well. Hope that increases the chances as well. And as I mentioned, caffeine withdrawal is one of the major, symptoms that happens in artists. So you should definitely support artists if you want good art and battle against AI. Yeah, support the artists with caffeine. That's great. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. As always, leave the comment down below if you have any suggestions or comments or anything